And we're back with another edition of Planet Philly. Nick Earnshaw, Jen McGraw, Jason Joseph. We took a little bit of a vacation. I feel it was a week off, I guess. We had pretty busy schedules. I can't lie. Everyone had their own thing going on. But hey, we're back with another episode. And, a couple of days ago, our weekend, we had a pretty fun weekend, the Planet Philly pod crew. So I'm excited. We're going to talk about that at length. Before the end of the episode. We'll get to that at some point. But as I mentioned, Jen McGraw, Jason Joseph, I'm Nick Earnshaw. So we're going to get it rolling here on Planet Philly. Also before we get going, I want to make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and all the socials at Planet Philly Pod. And our Gmail is at planetphillypod@gmail.com if you want to get in contact with us. Without further ado, we're going to have to talk about these Eagles. I mean, they made a trade that I think Jen's been waiting not one, not two, not three, a very long time for. Jen's very excited about this. I kind of am too. He was a disaster for the Philadelphia Eagles since he was drafted. JJ Arcega-Whiteside has been traded out of town. He is now a Seattle Seahawk. This trade, not a shock. I mean, he was pulled off of the field at training camp before this trade was happening. So people thought maybe he was going to be cut. No, he was traded for another defensive back from Seattle. So, Jen, I'm going to get you started with this because, Arcega-Whiteside, he's been a pretty big disappointment. A lot of expectations was taken over DK Metcalf, if you remember. So very interesting. He's going to Seattle, play with DK Metcalf now, made the transition, put on some weight to tight end. Jen, your first reaction when you saw this trade?
Well, my very first reaction when I saw this trade was I saw it from the Eagles app that they traded for the defensive back from Seattle. And the second that I saw that, I screenshotted it. I sent it to our group chat and I said, J-Jaw is gone. And it makes a lot of sense. To me, either it would have been him or Jalen Reagor, but obviously Jalen Reagor is still competing for a spot on this team because our tight end room and our wide receiver room is getting way too competitive. I mean, we have Devontae Smith, obviously AJ Brown. We know the song and dance, and especially after our first preseason game, now we're trying to cut down and make them final adjustments for the 53-man roster. So, it just made a lot of sense. And again, credit to Howie for a sensational offseason. And this obviously being the icing on the cake because we need competitors. This Eagles team this season, it feels like, fingers crossed, no, not jinxing anything, but it feels like they're really ready to compete and they can't have like half decent quality athletes. We need a strong wide receiver room. We need to fix some of these issues that we had last season. And if it means trading away JJ Arcega-Whiteside, so be it. No, obviously no hard feelings, but it's all about, having that strong offensive line that kind of was a little shaky last season.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was time. It was time to move on from Arcega-Whiteside. That project's over and done with. The Eagles are very, very, very much in the right here to move on. Get a defensive back in Ugo Amadi. I don't know much about him. I know he plays in the nickel and the slot a lot. That's about all I know about him. I've read some things Seahawks fans were saying, he has some potential, but he's kind of not been the best cornerback. I mean, you're getting him for JJ Arcega-Whiteside. So, there's upside there. I've seen that's the word that's been thrown around a lot. It's been written about him, a lot of upside. So, you can't fault Howie Roseman for going out and getting a young defensive back, adding some depth to a secondary that, at safety as well. You can play a little bit there. All right, I'm for it. I think it's a good move. Jason, getting rid of Arcega-Whiteside, he's gone now. He needed a change of scenery at some point. He is just not transitioned from college to the NFL. It was great at Stanford, very good at Stanford, but since he came to the NFL, just has not performed up to expectations.
Well, first of all, I just have to say hi to the both of you. This weekend was a lot of fun, and I know that we're gonna talk more about it, but I just had to say hi. You guys are the best, and I always love coming on here.
Oh, it's the best, Jason, when you're on.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
hello.
Oh, I'm blushing. Oh man, but no, just getting down to business. J. Jaw had to go, and I was actually very shocked that first of all how he did this now, and the other thing, like I didn't think that J. Jaw was going to have a lot of value at all, and the fact that they actually did end up getting somebody for him, hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. And and safety was like one of the positions where I would make the argument that was like the weakest sort of position on the Eagles. You can just take whatever you can from him. If he's eventually gonna be that guy, which I don't think a lot of people see. It's just good to take a chance on it, but it also can't hurt. It also can't hurt either. So I think that he's going to help out, give more depth to the safeties. And I think that, if anything, was a benefit for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think so. And the word that just keeps being thrown around is upside. I mean, that's all you can get for a guy like JJ at this point in his career. What he's done hasn't performed very well. So yeah, I mean, they get a player with some upside. Nothing wrong with that. Instead of just cutting Whiteside, you get something back for him that can't hurt. Especially injuries happen throughout the season. You can't have too much depth. They get a young player who possibly can get in the rotation. Even he could play on special teams. You give him an opportunity on special teams, I think he can contribute there, and he did contribute a little bit with the Seahawks last season. So definitely a good move for Howie. I think this helps the Eagles a little bit, and you move on from Arcega-Whiteside. That experiment is now over, but. Now I want to transition a little bit, talking about the Eagles. We know, training camp's coming down to a close, only a couple more preseason games left. And then we get the start of the season. Everyone's fantasy teams are getting ready too. So that'll be starting. We'll have fantasy talk on here as well, but I want to switch gears to the diamond. I want to talk about the Phillies. They lose 2 or 3 to the Mets, but they hung with the Mets. And we have a story. We'll talk about the Mets later on in the show. We'll get to that as well. But they swept the Nationals. They go in, take 2 or 3 against the Marlins at home. They compete very well with the Mets. They show that they can perform against a caliber of opponent that's top tier in the league right now. I mean, what are you going to do against Jacob deGrom? Aaron Nola pitched a gem as well. So, I mean, it was a playoff type atmosphere, and there'll be more opportunities down the line. But they showed they're a good team this year. That's what they showed at me. This is a real team. The Phillies are a real team, and they're going to compete. So, Jen, are we all in? Do we like? I don't think it's a question. They should make the playoffs. We're not going to see another September collapse. Do you think? I just don't see it happening. I don't see a collapse in September like we've seen the past few years. Are we all in?
I want to say yes. I do want to say I'm going to say yes. I am going to say
Okay.
yes
All
first
right.
and foremost.
Okay.
There's not a reasonable doubt in my voice. It's just with Philly sports, you can very much your hopes up, and then like the Phillies are onto something special this year. If not this year, I don't see why not next year they go out and they have a fantastic and probably an even better year. Because this year they showed a lot of growth, especially from last year, especially even from the beginning of the season when they had a lot of issues. And then they turn around, around mid-ish season, I guess you could say, and then they come to be this team, the team that they are, excuse me. And then, like you said, they hang on with the Mets, which gives them a little bit of, like you said, playoff action, but it gives them a little taste of what to expect come September and October when they're really down the wire with playing in these kind of playoff atmospheres, and when the games start to, not that they don't matter now, but start to really matter. And that's where we've seen in years past with the Phillies kind of start to crumble, but having this experience now, showing the fans that they can really hang on now is going to kind of keep our spirits up just a little longer than in years past. But especially if not this year, next year, I wouldn't see any reason to not be in all in on the Phillies.
Yeah, I this is a different year. You can just tell this year's there's something different about this team. And then you're going to get Bryce back probably in early September. You're adding another piece to that lineup. Schwarber, he'll be back. He's not going to be out too much longer, I believe. But Jason, Ranger Suarez outdueling Max Scherzer. I mean, that's something you don't really see. If the Phillies go into the playoffs, I think Ranger probably is your third guy. Ranger after Wheeler, after Nola, it's probably Ranger. You have Syndergaard who could give you extended innings, as well as Gibson. They pitched pretty well, but Jason, I think when you have a guy like Ranger Suarez outdoing Max Scherzer, I mean, it just makes you feel a little different about this team, especially when you're coming down the stretch here, going into late August, early September into October.
Yeah, well, I think that you said it best. Ranger has certainly earned his role as being that third starter. And when you're going toe to toe with Max Scherzer and you both go 7 innings and you only give up 4 hits and 1 earned run, that to me says a lot about his competitiveness, and it says a lot about what he can do on the mound when the pressure is coming to him. And let's not also forget, this was in New York. It wasn't like it was even in Philly. So it was a tone setter to me. And it also was just that whole series to me was kind of like you kind of like measure yourself to the Mets, kind of. I don't really know how else to put it. It's kind of like a tape measure sort of a thing. And just to like see like where you are compared to the Mets. And I thought that the Phillies were right there. I really did. Unfortunately, on Sunday, they lost and the defense wasn't so good. Zach Wheeler didn't have his best stuff. It wasn't all his fault, but the bats didn't show up. And yeah, like, okay, like you're going up against DeGrom, you're going up against Bassett, you're going up against Scherzer, you're going up against these top 3 pitchers who are all arguably top 10 pitchers in baseball. And you just laid an egg. But the thing that really stood out to me was how were they going to respond last night? And they responded. They scored. Not only did they score 1 run, but they scored more than 1 run. They ended up scoring 4 runs, and they beat the Reds. Can they take care of business and beat the Reds, take the series 2 out of 3 or sweep them 3 out of 3, and then, win the series against the Mets? That is what is going to be something that I'm going to be looking for. How do you respond after that series?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. After the Red series, they won game 1. I mean, we're still in the midst of the series now at the time of this recording, but you come into a big weekend against the Mets once again, and you're playing 4 games because you have the doubleheader. I believe it's on Saturday. Yes, Saturday they have that doubleheader. So I listen, it's going to be a fun weekend if you're going to see the Phillies and the Mets. No doubt about it in my mind. So, hopefully they can get it rolling once again against these Mets. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. But hey, the Phillies, I think most of us, I think all 3 of us are in agreement that we're all in this season. This is a different feel, a different franchise. The Mets and the Braves, you're in the best division probably in baseball, arguably. I mean, you have 3 teams that are probably going to make it into the postseason. That's just how it is. Sometimes that's how it goes. But the 60+ win Phillies, I mean, got to give them a lot of credit at this point in the year. Now, I want to switch gears. We're still in August. It's still summer, but like I can't wait for fall. We got Eagles football, Phillies probably in the postseason again, and the 76ers, they're going to be back too. I mean, we can't forget about those 76ers. And listen, we already know they're going to be playing in some primetime games. They're starting opening night against the Boston Celtics. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I'm so excited that they're going to open up the season against the Boston Celtics. That is going to be phenomenal. They're also that's October 18th. So October 20th, they're going to open the season against the Milwaukee Bucks. And then on Christmas, we get basketball. And on Christmas Eve, we get Eagles Cowboys. So we get Eagles Cowboys on Christmas Eve. And then we get the Sixers and the New York Knicks. Oh, I can't wait for that. In the Garden. in the Garden. I can't wait for Joel Embiid, James Harden, possibly Kevin Durant in the Garden against the New York Knicks. I'm excited for this entire fall schedule and slate of sports we're gonna have. Jen, your first reaction to my whole spiel I just gave about the Sixers schedule in the fall upcoming for Philly sports.
I'm excited, but I did not realize, not yet, because busy week, we all got stuff going on. I did not realize the October 20th game is going to be on my is actually on my birthday. So
that's
really
even
pretty
better.
cool as well.
Oh my gosh.
I think
really
so
cool.
that's sick.
I think we might have plans now that day. Planning might have to go on another field trip. Planet Philly might have to go on. Yeah.
But no, I was going to say first reactions, because I saw a tweet saying Eagles versus Cowboys on Christmas Eve and then Sixers on Christmas Day, and the NBA has always been a Christmas Day watching is going to be is always a good time, and then just like Thanksgiving for the NFL, but having this holiday season for Philadelphia sports, I love it. Like it's our time to shine. It's just don't, no pun intended, but please don't drop the ball. Like please keep us, please keep us strong, especially in these primetime games. But it's going to be exciting. I mean, not even just for, the Eagles, which I am, of course, a big fan of, but watching the Sixers, hopefully watching the Phillies tear it up in postseason. I had to get that whole birthday thing out there, because like that, another Planet Philly field trip, that's going to be something.
It might have to be. It might have to be another field trip. We're going to have to figure that day out in schedules. But Jason, a lot of primetime Sixers games heading into the fall. Like Jen said, we got to keep the spirits high. Let's win some of these games, if you're the Sixers, if you're the Eagles, Phillies as well. So, a lot of great games just going to be happening. A lot of great events going on in Philadelphia as we enter the fall season and into the winter, Jason. Can't ask for more if you're a Sixers fan with all these games in the primetime slot.
I'm excited about the primetime games. Like, don't get me wrong. The primetime games are going to be awesome. I am just praying that this season that we don't get another second round exit. Oh, because that's all I can really focus on. That's all I can really focus on with this team. I'm sorry. I'm excited for the primetime games. I'm so excited that we get to play the Celtics on opening night, regardless of where Kevin Durant goes. But you know what?
You're killing me.
But you know what? I do feel like with the way that the Sixers have handled the offseason so far, I'm more optimistic, I'd say, than a lot of other people. I don't know where they're going to end up. But you know what? At the end of the day, as long as Joel has a good season, as long as we can get a lot of production out of Tyrese Maxey and James Harden, and we don't have to rely on the coaching of Doc Rivers, I feel like this team has potential to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I'm excited. I am, but right now, like, I don't know about you guys, but like my mind is still in summer. And like I'm getting ready for football season. I can't even think about basketball.
Oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for basketball. I'm excited for the Eagles. I just want I need them to come back this season. Just give me some highlights to start the year and get me pumped up again. I want to be pumped up by the Sixers again. They had a good offseason. Tyrese Maxey looks like he's had a good offseason. And whatever happens,
past the second round.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
I do agree.
All I want.
I'm with you. I want the bragging rights on Christmas Day just for the Knicks fans that we know. I just want in the Garden. I just want those bragging rights too, just for some early season fun. That's all. Then we can go and talk about the playoffs when we get here, and hopefully we're not, shedding a tear again with this team, because that's all they seem to do every single year with us. I just shed a tear every year. This year I probably wasn't like as shy. I was like, figure it, second round again. Let's not make this a habit again this year. That's the goal, but we'll find out. We'll see what happens. But just want to get your guys' quick thoughts. KD Harden, I'm cool either way if the trade happens or not. I'm cool. I don't think they have enough draft capital. Well, I think that's what's going to hold them up to even get KD unless he wants to force himself here. I don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't have as much leverage as I think he thinks, especially when he's under contract for 4 years. That just kicks in this year. But I'm cool either way. I love Tyrese Maxey. I think they can win with the core they have now and all the depth that they have now. I think they're fine. They go get Kevin Durant. I think that's great too, because you can mix and match so many different rotations when you have guys like Harden, Embiid, Kevin Durant, and you can mix and match. So I'm cool either way. They don't get them. I don't really care. If they keep it, if they keep Tyrese Maxey and all the young players that they have, I'm cool with that too. But KD and Harden, they've been hanging out. Went to a Travis Scott concert together. They've been, they seem to be back to being friends again. Jen, where are we at on this Kevin Durant Sixers possibly situation?
I'm fine either way as well. I do think that Kevin Durant would be a bit expensive, so either way. But I also want to see how this year's going to play out. Now, like last year, we were facing the saga. Won't get into any of that.
Did you see he they figured out the grievance? I hope he got nothing. I hope he got about $10. I hope they gave him $10 and laughed in his face. He shouldn't have gotten a penny.
Shame.
He shouldn't have gotten a penny.
I heard that was kept like under wraps. Like we don't know, what the situation was there. But listen to, not to sidestep off that, but we've come a long way on Planet Philly, because this time last year we were talking about a whole different topic when it came to the Sixers, and now we're talking about KD and Harden. Who would have thought? Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, you're right.
So much better.
We've come a long way, guys. It's something to be proud of. But I just want to see how this team right now handles this year. Now, obviously, I'm not the general manager. I don't have the final say. So if the KD trade happens, it happens. But if not, I would love to see how this team kind of, takes from last year's example and puts it into this year, just like with the Eagles. Some of the issues that they know that the Sixers now that they had last year worked on, and coming into this year, I want to see how that plays out. But if they do go out and get KD, that would also be sensational as well. So I think it's a 50-50. There's a lot to be excited for, for the Sixers either way.
Yeah, I think either way it goes, I'm cool with it. Jason, final word on this topic.
Well, before I get to that, I have to add on to Jen's point, because she's right about us coming a long way, because it's not even just about the Sixers, but also like look at the Phillies last year.
Yeah.
And also like look at where the Eagles are now compared to last season. Like getting
Jason,
AJ Brown, getting Hassan Reddick. Yeah.
Jason, let me go into that. I think I went, I can't even tell you how many months without talking about Ben Simmons. Like, we talked about I talked about Ben Simmons almost every week. It was either on all sides at Rowan Radio, Planet Philly. I'm so glad that he's out of our hair. This better be the last straw.
He was a separate topic from the Sixers.
He
was his own Philly sports topic.
Just
he was
to really
draining
about it. Yeah.
Just to give you a frame of reference. I'm sorry, you finished.
Yeah. No. You go first.
Thank you. I'm sorry for cutting you off, and thank you for letting me cut you off. Just to give you a frame of reference, I didn't even know much of the Simmons saga until we started talking about it on Planet Philly. Just to give all the listeners a plain frame of reference of how much we talked about the Sixers. I was like a Ben expert by the time we got done talking about.
I talked about Ben Simmons. Listen, I was a gigantic Ben Simmons supporter.
I was a supporter too.
Jason, yes, you were, Jason. Wow. Jason and I, and especially me, I was when he came out of college, I was all in. All right, he doesn't have to shoot all this. I defended that man to the core, and this is what he gives the fan base. The entire fan base defended him to the end. But when you start playing like the way he did and just quit, you lose me. And that's why Ben Simmons will never, ever get a nice thing said about him from me. It will never happen again. It'll never happen again. Go ahead, Jason.
Nick, it's not just that he quit. It's also that he lied. He lied about mental health.
He lied.
And
he should never.
And the only reason why he came back was for his paycheck. And all Daryl asked him is that when he pulled the mental health card, he said, okay, but like, you got to give me kind of like a hall pass. Like whenever like you used to have to give that to like your teacher, like if you were late to class, he had to give, Daryl Morey some sort of certification that he was getting help, and he didn't do that. So he lied. He
Yeah,
lied
he's a
to
joke.
everybody.
He's a joke. I hope the first time, because we already saw him come back, but I hope the first time he comes back, I hope he really gets booed when he steps on the floor during those intros, when you hear the fans, they chant, what they chant during the intro to the opposing teams. I hope they boo him louder than anything. Keep it civil, just a boo, no throwing things, nothing like that. But he deserves a gigantic boo. And that's all I'm going to say. I rest my case on Ben Simmons and his grievance that he settled with the Sixers. I think it's totally ridiculous. Go ahead, Jason. Final word on the Sixers.
So I want to get back to the whole Kevin Durant thing. Hypothetically speaking, okay, first of all, let's put this into context right now. Would both of you say that Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA right now?
Arguably.
Okay. Would you say Tyrese Maxey is the best player in the NBA?
God, no.
Okay. So from just that perspective, you would think to yourself, oh yes, like Kevin Durant, like if he's arguably a top 3 player or like the best player on the planet, then you have to go for him. The problem is that what makes it so much more complicated, it's not about Tyrese, it's about Kevin Durant himself. It's the fact that Kevin Durant left Golden State, he went to Brooklyn, and he wanted to get Kyrie, and he wanted to get DeAndre Jordan, and he wanted Steve Nash, and he wanted James Harden, and now he's having problems with the organization, and he still has 4 years left on this contract. And the chemistry that was going on the court, it was just, for him, it wasn't all his fault, Kyrie not being vaccinated and all that sort of stuff, but he was tired of it. And the fact that he's just turning on the organization now really says a lot about his character. And from a Sixers standpoint, do I want that? I don't think I do. And, I'm sure that him and Doc Rivers are going to butt heads. And I don't think that that's going to be good for the organization just from a chemistry standpoint. But as a player, yeah, of course you would take the best player on the planet. But the other thing that you have to remember too is that Tyrese Maxey is 21 years old. And this year, he could be averaging 22 points per game. I think that that's a realistic goal. And if Durant is averaging 25, that's only like 3 points difference. And then you're going to think to yourself, oh, Maxey's only going to continue to get better. And that's why, yes, it's like, do we go for our future do we save up for our future, or do we go in this win now mode? And I'm back and forth. I'm not going to lie. I look at it from both perspectives.
Yeah, and you could be right either way. Either way, it could be the right direction for the Sixers. You go in the win now mode. You don't know how long you have with Embiid with his injury history, and the history of 7-footers.
I was also going to add too Kevin Durant's injury.
He's got an injury history too. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a focal point. So listen, I think that's why I'm saying I could go either way. If they keep the core they have now, I'm cool with that because I think they can win with the team they have right now. And then also, if you go get Kevin Durant, I mean, that's not a bad thing either. He's arguably the best player in basketball. So either way, I think the Sixers are okay if they decide to keep with the team they have right now and go that route. I mean, they have a lot of depth now. You go the Kevin Durant route, you win with the superstars. Either way, I think is a win for the Sixers, and it could blow up in their face either way. So I mean, listen, they could stand pat and be fine, and then also go out and make a gigantic move, which I think either way, I think the Sixers would be in the right to do whatever they decide and go for. So listen, it's going to be an interesting couple of more weeks. We're going to see how this unfolds, but I'm very excited for the fall and just in general with basketball, October baseball and football coming around. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a busy time for Planet Philly and all of us for sure. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But we have to cool off on the sports talk a little bit, and we have to end the show. We do Space Jam in every single episode, but I mean, this is a special edition of Space Jamming because we were all jamming. We went to the VinylVerse tour. Logic. We had Wiz Khalifa, 24K Golden, Philly's own DJ Drama. I mean, it was a great packed house. I was at the Freedom Mortgage Pavilion now. I think that's what it is. It used to be BB&T Pavilion. That's what I'll always call it. I think we'll always call it that too.
Bank Center.
Yeah, Susquehanna Bank Center. I mean, it's had 18 different names up to this point. So, we had a great time. We got to see all these artists, and we even heard some Eagles chants. And before we get going on like our favorite moments and all, we when we first got there, we ran into a guy. Now this guy, I don't understand where he was. So I'm assuming he's a Boston fan. He had a Boston. Now listen, it's like 80, 90 degrees outside, whatever it was. It was hot. It was a hot day, but as the sun goes down, it gets better. This guy had a Boston Bruins hockey jersey on in the parking lot, saw Jason in a Philly shirt, and started saying, "You lost to the Mets, the Mets." He was saying it in such a funny way. I thought it was funny, but listen, yeah, that's how he said it. So, Jason, I'll go to you because he's the one who called you out. Boston, and then he's talking about the Mets. I think he had a couple of adult beverages beforehand, but that's beside the point. He was making fun of the Phillies. I'm like, dude, you clearly haven't been watching the Phillies.
Well, he wanted them to win. I don't know if you remember that.
I guess, right? I don't know.
He does not like the Mets. He did say that he wanted the Phillies to win this weekend, and he was like, "Y'all lost to the Mets." And then he talked about like his it wasn't his he talked about his rent.
Yeah,
like he put his rent money up for it or something, or for like betting. Like,
I guess
man,
put a few dollars down.
But that is what exactly describes what being a Philly sports fan is all about.
Yep.
Even though he had a Boston Bruins jersey on, okay, yeah, like that's, I don't know.
That was weird.
That's what it's all about.
That was a weird one.
But I'm just saying, like the blue collar sort of mentality and the passion and all that. So it was funny, but yeah, that was quite an interaction.
And Jen, we talked about it at the concert. We heard the Eagles chants probably 3-4 times maybe about that, right? I mean, you always get them, right?
Yeah. I mean, as I was telling in the chat, or telling you guys in the chat a couple weeks ago when I went to see The Weeknd, right after the Weeknd concert was over and them lights came on at the link, in my section, loud and proud, there was an Eagles chant. Of course I joined in. I'm not dumb. But it's just everywhere you go. And it kind of touches on Jason's point. Like that's, what you get in this area is just a bunch of really dedicated, passionate sports fans. And especially at both concerts, you happen to get Eagles fans or, Philly fans who just did the Eagles cheer because why not? That was pretty cool as well. I mean, especially hearing it 3 or 4 times. Like at the Weeknd, you just heard it once. So, if you missed it, that was it. But you had a chance at the VinylVerse tour to get it in, like a couple times. So it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
Who was the guy that sang the John Moran song? Because I thought that was good.
That was, I think was it unreleased or something? Was it? It might have been C. Castro, C. Castro, maybe one of those.
Yeah. I think it was C.
Yeah, he was one of the openers. Yeah, that was a good one. And then there was one funny moment. I do remember. So Logic was showing like a picture with him, and he had a Nets shirt on. And then all of a sudden behind us, you heard "Bleep the Nets," which I thought was great. That was funny. That was great. So
I didn't even know why you said that, but now I
yeah,
actually
yeah.
know.
Logic. He had like a picture of himself on the big screen with a Nets shirt on, and all you hear is "bleep the Nets" from some dude in the crowd. And hey, it doesn't get more Philly than that. It was Planet Philly there for sure. But guys, moving along, I have to get your favorite moment from the concert. Could be at any point. It could be from one of the artists. Something we did, something. Just anything. Jen, I'll go to you first. Your favorite moment from the concert.
Actually, I got two. The one's kind of a shorter one, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this one. But throughout the concert, I was posting, on Instagram, like the different headliners and like everybody who was performing. And I happened to post 24K Golden, just because, like, it was my first time seeing actually all three of 24 Logic and Wiz Khalifa as well. So, I wanted to post about it, and 24K Golden, like,
He did.
the story, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like a casual fan. I'm not as much of a diehard fan as you, but definitely it was a pretty fun moment. But I will say, like, one of the greater moments of the tour, just like Logic and his interaction with his fans, especially at the end, which I know we'll probably touch on in a little bit. But there was a guy in a wheelchair. There's a kid in a wheelchair, I believe. He came all the way, as we saw earlier, from Dubai, and he was having trouble seeing. People were like picking on him because he couldn't see, because he has a wheelchair. So Logic let him on the stage and he came out, and Logic was singing Every Day, I believe it was
Yeah, every day. Yep. Final song. Final song.
The final song. And the kid from Dubai got the best seat in the house right from the stage. So I'm sure that definitely made, his entire year
Oh
basically.
yeah.
But I just love that kind of interaction, because you don't see that so often with a lot of artists, or even like a lot of athletes. You don't see that kind of interaction, and it's just it's really cool. Those moments really
He
matter.
gave him free
Yeah.
merch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
did. Jason, so if you had to pick one moment, it could be the same one as Jen's. What was your favorite part of the concert? Favorite moment?
Um, the I will say, as far as performance goes from Logic, the one thing that I loved, and I didn't realize this, but when he asked what everybody's favorite holiday was, and somebody shouted out Christmas, I was not expecting the song that he used from what's that called now? Oh, why am I blanking out on the
Was it Deck
name?
the Hall? It wasn't Deck the Halls, was it?
It was Deck the Halls,
Something
but
like
like
that. Yeah.
no. It was
It
Deck the
was Deck
Halls.
the Halls, right? Yeah.
It was Deck the Halls, but like, why am I blanking out on like the name? Oh yeah, Fade Away.
It
Fade
was Fade
Away.
Away. Yeah, it was
That's
Fade
what it
Away.
was.
Yeah.
It was
My
Fade Away.
probably my
Okay.
favorite Logic song of all
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And like him just using that demo and like playing it from like the beginning, like I was like, okay, like where's this gonna go? And then as soon as I heard like the Oz, I was like, oh damn, this is really freaking cool. So I really enjoyed that. I also really liked So High by Wiz Khalifa. Every time I think about that song, I feel like I'm Kanye in a sort of sense, because like I see colors like every time like I listen to music. So and I was literally seeing space, and every time I listen to that song, I keep thinking about outer space.
Yeah.
Planet
Hey.
Philly, outer
Yeah,
space.
outer space. I like how you
That was
brought it
cool.
all full circle here. But yeah, I thought that was a great time. I thought I thought Wiz's set was awesome. I thought Logic's set. I thought everyone did. I thought it was a well put together show. And
I'm
just
just happy that all of us could just go together,
yeah, yeah. It was like
Yeah.
last second,
Absolutely.
let's go. And we had a Planet Philly field trip. Nothing better. I think my favorite moment. Jen mentioned the fan interaction. The YouTuber that Logic pointed out was in the crowd, gave him his flowers on stage. Literally gave him flowers on stage. Just the fan interaction. Logic always does a great job with that. He always puts on a good show, and is always kind of caring out with looking out for his fans, caring about his fans all the time. And you have to give credit where credit's due. He definitely did that at this show, bringing
somebody also gave him flowers too.
yeah, someone gave him flowers too. So he was interacting with the crowd a lot. I love to see when artists do that. So that was probably my favorite moment. I know Jen loved that one too. And the one at the end, I mean, who doesn't love that? They had the video. Logic put out the video today. with the young kid in the wheelchair. I believe he was like 19 years old, who couldn't see. They bring him up, and that just makes a kid's day, year. I mean, just anyone's day, year. And it's just a moment they'll never forget. So with that, I want to ask you guys, who had the best set? Now, this might be a tough one. Who had the best set? I don't know where I'm going to go with this. I might not even have an answer for you. Jen, you can lead things off. Who had the best set, do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah, so like as I was mentioning earlier, I'm very much a casual fan of all three of those artists. But so like, from a casual fan standpoint, Wiz Khalifa, he had most of, his like major hit songs during
Yep.
his set. So it was easily, you could gravitate towards that. But in terms of like performance wise and really putting on a show, I would say Logic. But just for me personally, I would definitely choose Wiz. I mean, he came out right away in the second song with Black and Yellow. I was waiting for that. So High definitely has been in my rotation lately. Not surprising.
I've been
And
telling
then
everybody about it.
ending, it's the songs. I mean, as I mentioned in like Space Jam and all them songs that are like vibey and tell a story. It's just it's for me. And then ending with the "We Will Rock You" rendition,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
coming back and then performing Young, Wild, and Free.
That
Everybody
was
went crazy. Of course I went crazy. So I love that set. Not to say I didn't love the other two, but I think Wiz had the best set in that
all right.
regard, especially from a casual standpoint.
Yeah, Wiz was awesome. I think I've seen Wiz. That's my second time seeing Wiz. I think this time was even better than last time. Jason, how about you? Who had the
Just
best set?
every time I'm thinking about the whole "We Will Rock You" like rendition, I'm just thinking of him like running up the freaking
Yeah,
platform and just laying down.
yeah, yeah.
What?
I
Oh
listen.
man.
I'm with you. He had a fun set. I
Um,
can't lie. I can't lie.
I think that Logic. I think it's easy to say that Logic had the best, but I don't. I feel like you can go back and forth. I really liked how in the very beginning, like you had C Dot, go up there, and you also had like some other guys that were like from Philly, and I thought that was really cool. To just get them involved. That was one thing that I liked. And the other thing that I also thought was really good, from just Logic standpoint, was his transitions.
Yes, we
They
talked
were
about that
so
night.
smooth.
We talked
Oh
about that
man.
night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it wasn't even just the Christmas thing. It was also just like all the crowd interaction moments that he had, and him also talking about, there was one point like where he was talking about how he stopped smoking weed, and then Wiz Khalifa like on the tour like actually got him back into doing it. He stopped because he had a son, and Wiz was like, "What you do?"
That was funny. That was
That was
hilarious.
really
I thought that
funny.
was
Yeah.
funny. For me, I was very excited to see 24K Golden. I've been a big 24K Golden fan.
He
City
did
of
great.
Angels. I thought he was a great opener. For Logic and for Wiz Khalifa. I thought that was he was a great open. No doubt, no doubt in my mind. He wasn't. I don't know who my favorite would have been. I thought all three were good. I thought it was just overall great show. And then having DJ Drama host it kind of in between sets, playing some hit songs here and there, bringing out local guys. I thought that was really, really cool. But overall, I don't know who I can go. I thought Wiz was great. Logic was great. 24K I hadn't seen before, so I mean that I was really excited to see him. So I'll just say, just seeing 24K Golden for the first time, I thought he really impressed me for sure. He got the crowd pretty hyped with a lot of his hit songs. So I'll go with that. And then anything else? I know Jason said that the transitions. I'm in agreement with you with Logic going from song to song. That's something that stood out to me. Jen, anything else that stood out to you?
Yeah, and this is something too that stood out, from the After Hours Till Dawn tour with the weekend. But I think something we don't appreciate enough is the visuals. I mean, like with the tour,
Yes.
especially with the VinylVerse tour, the visuals in the background were awesome. For Wiz, for especially for 24K Golden, like the trippy, like colorful, really cool looking visuals were awesome. Wiz obviously had a lot of references to marijuana. So it was like really, it was funny, but it was like I mean, it made sense. It fit in. It looked great. The Weed and Boys, the opener, that visual was like awesome. And then Logic had visuals like throughout that were just like awesome. So I am somebody, when I'm on tour, I'm watching the visuals, I'm watching the performer, but I'm also watching the visuals just because I love a good show all around, and a lot of it is like part of the visuals.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought the visuals were great, especially for Logic's set. I thought Logic had some really cool art behind them, and that was awesome too.
Perfect.
I
Perfect
mean,
was
just
so good.
yeah, for every song I felt like was
Yeah.
great, and especially Perfect as a great song. I showed you the remix today, both
Yeah,
of you. I sent
that
the
was
remix.
great.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was a fun time. The Planet Philly crew had a great field trip to the VinylVerse tour. Jason, one last word. I know you want
Yeah.
to get something else in.
Yeah, I wanted to also say too, like I had no idea about 24K Golden's like story. Like
Yeah,
I had no idea that he dropped out of college, and just him talking about that and being very open about it, I think really was something that also stood out to me and other people in the audience too, because it makes you think about like all the other musicians that, are in that spot and just trying to find their way, not just in the music world, but in life. And, I think that as people that are really into sports, even though like we're not athletes, like y- we're journalists and we're also, content creators ourselves. And I feel like sometimes, people get this misconception about, like going to school and like, you have to do this in order to do this and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought that that was really interesting to me. And it was something that stood out to me. And it makes me think that, you don't have to go one certain way. Like there's many ways to skin a cat, they would say.
yeah, no, great point there. Great point. I mean, listen, I think we all agree that it was a fun time. The Planet Philly crew got out, have a good time, good laugh, couple of drinks here and there. But yeah, it was a great time. So overall, great concert, VinylVerse tour, Logic, Wiz Khalifa, 24K Golden. Planet Philly crew showed out, and it was a fun time. But that's going to do it for us here on this week's episode of Planet Philly. For Jen McGraw, Jason Joseph, I'm Nick Earnshaw. Remember to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, follow us on all the socials at Planet Philly Pod. Email us at planetphillypod@gmail.com. We'll see you next time. It's been a pleasure. And always remember to follow and subscribe at Planet Philly Pod.